Okay, people. This is Pamela Rice. This is Hard News Vegan, and I am in what I would call gentrified Little Italy, New York City. Right now, that's what you're seeing. This is Mott Street. I'm heading southerly toward Chinatown from uh, Houston Street. It's called Houston, spelled like Houston, but everybody in New York, you learn early on that you say Houston, not Houston. So here we are, and we're heading toward Prince Street here. And as folks know, I have been, well, first and foremost, this is during the COVID-19 shutdown. And the date of this, um, let me just check that. The date of this broadcast is May 17, 2020. So we are hopefully getting to the end of this horrible shutdown in New York City. And if folks are, you know, if they haven't heard of this, they should go look it up. That because of a flu season, that's what I call it, a coronavirus, basically a a very contagious, apparently, flu, which has a very seriously low death rate. 95% of people who get this COVID-19 recover. People who are infected are, by and large, 65 years old and more. So anyway, let me get into the neighborhood we're looking at. You're seeing a lot of blight here. And because of this influenza virus, I consider it, well, New York City and much of the world and the United States of America decided to shoot itself in the heart and shut down business now, and quarantine healthy people. And what I'm doing here is documenting the blight that very quickly, I mean, it's like a locomotive going down the track at high speed and hitting a brick wall. I mean, the economy is something that exists in in flux. I mean, it's constantly in dynamic change, and it is characterized by movement and change and transactions. And the minute that you stop it, it is carnage. And this is what you see: carnage. I don't know, when you think about a leopard or something. Uh, uh, Eating an antelope. I mean, how do you describe it? Carnage. That's what this is. Carnage. And uh, total destruction, uh, total annihilation. You cannot shut down business. You destroy lives. And so they quarantine low risk, healthy people. And here in New York State, thank you, Andrew Cuomo, the governor, he said that if you have COVID, or if you could be infected with COVID and you're an old person who maybe went home from your nursing home because of it, they force you back into the nursing home into quarantine. Where you probably, I don't know, if you weren't yet affected or infected, you would be infected. And I mean, there's a huge amount of death that has occurred because of old people being forced into, I mean, I mean, they did everything wrong in New York, and it is a blue state, a sanctuary city. It is basically a nanny state, socialist state, welfare state. That is what New York City is. And hey, surprise, surprise! Look at what happens almost instantaneously when you shut down business for a crisis. The illness was not a crisis, but the reaction to it and the overreaction to it in terms of um, in terms of the shutdown, what made everything a crisis. Now here we are at Canal Street, and like I say, we're heading southerly on Mott Street. This is we started up at Houston at what I consider gentrified Little Italy. And now we are heading big time into Chinatown. As you can see, Chinese letters on the Chase Bank there. You wouldn't see that necessarily. So everything now is Chinese, Chinese, Chinese. And as you can see right away, we see the shutters. We see the gates, I guess you call them in New York City. You have graffiti. You just have like these awnings that look kind of sorry. And you have, I mean, any other day, in Chinatown, it would be absolutely teeming with people. I've been to Chinatown many times. I've been here, lived here in New York over 30 years. I've been down to Chinatown, I mean, fewer times than you'd imagine, but many times. I live around here. I live within walking distance of here, short walking distance. So I'm very familiar with Chinatown. Known many, many Chinese people. Oh, yonder, see that what do you call the tower? See that on the top of the church? You see that? I really wanted to focus in on that as we come down Mott Street. This is the Transfiguration Catholic Church, and it was built, if you can believe it, in 1801. So I knew when I made the video, I knew that, and before making this audio voiceover, I looked it up, and indeed, that is one old-ass church. Okay, so getting back, Blight, 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 here we go. And you got the narrow streets. And I saw actually a lot of people with cameras, video cameras, kind of doing the same thing. But you know what I think they were doing? They weren't doing what I'm doing, which is documenting this COVID-19 period for posterity in the various neighborhoods. And if you know my work, I'm covering Chinatown today, but I already have posted to this channel. I've got Times Square, I've got First Avenue, Third Avenue, I think, and some other areas. So anyway, I really felt I needed to come down here to Chinatown to check it out, because, you know, I mean, I don't think I have to tell you that, in theory anyway, COVID-19 started in a wet market in Wuhan, China. Okay, that's the going theory. I don't believe that, actually. But, you know, it will play out, and there's a lot of quote-unquote conspiracy theories surrounding COVID-19. I mean, look at this. I mean, just look at this. This is Doyers Street here, Doyers, and it's kind of beleaguered street in any case. But right now, I mean, everything's changed, closed up. shuttered, you know, graffiti. Now there's some interesting artwork, but there's a lot of graffiti. Oh man, shutters. It's catastrophe. And I'm doing these videos. I did Greenwich Village. Let me remember to mention that, because uh, Greenwich Village was one of the exceptions. It was unblighted. It was there were a lot of closed businesses, but the people there, as I put it in that video, were not hurting. These people are hurting. And what I want to do is show the contrast from one neighborhood, one avenue to another. And like, for example, First Avenue was a total blight scene, just like this. Full of small businesses, just completely devastated. Might as well have been burned out. I mean, look at this devastation. I mean, I can't even bear to look at it. I've been doing this in a way because, well, what I want is to put some of this blight into some people's faces, so to speak. What do we have right now? We have a bunch of gentrified, Bernie bro, Brooklyn hipster, white liberals, you know, millennials, who are, you know, they're all pent up very obediently in their apartments, because that's part of the lockdown. You know, if you don't have any reason to go out, you should only go out to get groceries or get, you know, for emergencies, but you're supposed to stay pent up in your apartment now. And only, I'm telling you, I mean, this is the most bizarre thing that has ever happened to me in my life. That's the truth. And when I do videos of this, I feel like I'm doing it as a public service, because I have this great camera. I have a DJI Osmo Pocket. By the way, right there is the police department, the 5th precinct of the area. They cover my neighborhood, which, like I say, I'm just a hop, skip, and a jump up from here. I don't show it in this video, but anyway, so what I want is for you, the viewer, the listener, to show this to your white liberal friends, because they are all pent up dutifully, obediently in their apartments, destroying their immunity, by the way. You know, you have to keep your immunity kind of ship-shape, in shape, just like you have to lift weights and you have to work out and go for a jog or something. You have to keep in shape. You have to keep your immunity in shape. That means you have to, human beings, I mean, forever, since the beginning of time, have never conducted themselves like this, walking around like bandits with these face masks. You know, some people have the type where they seriously look like bandits. You know, no time in history has anybody, have human beings not been very touchy-feely with one another. It's the way human beings are. We shake hands, we kiss, we hug, we nudge up with each other, we make love, you know, we're touchy-feely people. You know, that's the way human beings have been forever. And we have evolved doing that. And now, all of a sudden, you are no longer being exposed to all kinds of little microbes. Microbes are every friggin' place. And most of them are benign. Most of them are absolutely benign, no problem whatsoever. Um, so, so what's going to happen to all these lunatic, liberal, white, millennial, Bernie bro, socialist, uh, uh, millennials and all these people pent up and they're working out of their apartments? What's going to happen to them the minute that they walk out? They have not been keeping their immunity up to snuff, up in tip top shape. And the minute they start shaking hands again, they're going to get an overdose of a bunch of microbes that are actually they actually won't be able to stand up to, because what you need is these microbes are evolving constantly all around us all the time, and you have to keep up with it. You keep up with it, right? How do you keep up with it? Sorry about the wobble there. The wobble, when you see wobble like that with these videos, it means that the sidewalk is, oh wow. I mean, check out the graffiti. I mean, it's just, so here we are, um, so anyway, people are not keeping their immunities up to snuff at all. Um, they, and the minute they start shaking hands again, the minute they start doing one night stands again, or whatever they do, where going to the bar again, or doing, and I hate to say, I mean, I'm a, quote unquote, I'm a conspiracy theorist, and I, there was a plan to this. Come on, people. Come on. Come on. There was a plan to this. Um, and I mean, what I see in the future is the economy completely melting down, and the US dollar imploding. I see the US dollar no longer being the world reserve currency. If that's a term that's new to you, go search it. I see mass depression, because what we have here is a train wreck right now in slow motion, and all of these gentrified white liberal millennial Bernie bro, Brooklyn hipsters, all of these people, they're all holed up dutifully in their apartments, and they're not seeing this. They're not going down to uh, Chinatown. They're not going over to First Avenue, the really truly blighted areas. They're not seeing the pain and suffering. Oh, save Elizabeth Gardens. I want to just draw your attention to that. This is a company that sells monuments. If you go into that little area there, that lot, so apparently somebody wants to buy the property and put up some buildings or something. Well, that's over now. I mean, I would like to say that about this particular neck of the woods, a lot of this stuff is now protected. It's by the Buildings Preservation Society, the Municipal Art Society, and these people, they have, this is all now protected because all of these buildings are so picturesque and all of that. Um, but in this neighborhood, I mean, look at it now, and this is 2 months in to the crisis, which started mid-March. So now we're mid-May, or a little bit more than mid-May here. And let me tell you that, let's say back at Christmas time last year, people were all gung-ho with this neighborhood. And then later on, this video takes us over to the Bowery, the famous Bowery, New York City. This is all like high end. I mean, well, not Chinatown, but now we are heading back and forth from Houston down to Worth Street. And I basically go down Mott Street and up Elizabeth Street. That's basically the route. And this with a few exceptions, I go a little bit off the track, but that's generally what this video is. If you want to look that up on in a map of New York City, it's very easy to find. This is a historic area. This is where, this is not quite the Lower East Side. This is further west from there. And this was all, immigrants that came here. And, oh, by the way, right here, what we're seeing right here, this is important. We're heading, this wall is very old, easily 200 years old, this wall. And yonder, quick, is the St. Patrick's Basilica, which is the precursor of the St. Patrick's Church that is up at 50th Street around. This is, these people are really in with the Pope. So here's more of the wall. It's very historic, very historic. Look up the Mulberry Street Basilica. Very interesting. And this on the right, this building on the right, across the street here, this is Prince Street, is high-end condos or apartments. I don't know what it is. What does it say there? Now, that used to be a school. I live actually one block just on the other side, just on the other side of this building I live. And I would hear the kids in the courtyard from this school. And now it's a condo. So anyway, this is used to be has been, or had promise for being a hot real estate market. And like I say, but everything's changed. And what I'm trying to get at here is that there's huge amounts of real estate interests that were investing in this area and further east from here there are lots of these big glass fancy high artsy fartsy kind of properties, and a lot of people putting up buildings. I mean, there is a lot of building going on in New York City that has now come to a screeching halt. Yeah, this is Spring Street. I live right around the corner from here. I lived there for 30 years in a little apartment. So anyway, yeah, people are doing the social distancing. Oh God. I mean, I'm just, it's just beyond all belief that the governor, like one man or like a tiny group of people, are dictating to all of us. Okay, we're on Mott Street. We just hit Kenmare. That just crossed Kenmare Street. And shudder. Okay, I shudder to think. And I sort of want to show you the architecture, and if you're familiar with my videos, seen any of the others, you'll see that I mean, in some ways, the architecture just knocks my socks off. Here in New York City. And it's a crying shame that New York City has and is turning into a Venezuela. What can I say? I mean, we're going to have hyperinflation here in America. And all these people, and basically I point the finger at one place, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve. So anyway, now I should have done this at the beginning, but whatever. Again, we're going down Mott Street and up Elizabeth Street, and we're traveling between Houston and Worth. Okay, if you look on a map. All right. So, and depending on the street, toward Houston is this gentrified, white liberal area. And then when you get below a certain street, like now, we're maybe at Broome Street here, it turns into Chinatown. So we're going downtown right now. And I mean, all the shutters. I mean, I did not go down. This is the first time I've been in Chinatown since COVID began. Now, a friend of mine said, hey, let's go to dinner in Chinatown way back in like February. And I go, what, are you crazy? You know, back then I was really afraid of COVID. I'm no longer afraid of it. In fact, I'm afraid to in fact wear a mask, and I'm afraid to wear gloves. In fact, I want to keep my immune system strong. I know that, I mean, we just passed a kind of a wet market. I should have made a comment, but you just saw it. You can go back. And this is Mott Street. This is hardcore, you know, Chinatown here. And that's sort of a replica of your wet market. But they used to have a lot more disgusting things down here, and I guess now they're very sensitive. So, okay, right down that street, I believe that is Hester down there, and it says Little Italy. If you go, if you go down that street that just said Little Italy, you saw that. That is Hester, and if you go west, you will hit Mulberry Street, which is Little Italy. Okay, so that will be a separate video, Little Italy, because it's also blighted. I mean, it's horrendous. It's horrendous because Little Italy, you know, all of these places are bustling, teeming places normally. You got like 1 million people out on the street, and in the summertime, Little Italy is just bustling with people, tourists galore, enjoying the most amazing Italian food. There's one Italian restaurant after another, just like here. You've got one small shop after another, and this COVID thing is going to just is going to it's crucifying small business. And somebody tell me that that is not by design, because this COVID thing is very dubious. That's the word. It's very dubious. You know, a lot of people are pointing out some very inconvenient facts regarding the COVID. They're saying that you know, that they're the people who are in the hospitals, they're not that many, and the way that, you know, and also what's really screwed up about all of this is how political the COVID has become. Just like every friggin' thing has become political in America. It's either you like Trump, or, you know, don't hate him, or you hate him with every, you know, all the fragments of your being, or whatever, what the expression is. You know, if you ask me, and this is a very probably unpopular, controversial opinion, I mean, I see these people with Trump derangement syndrome, I see them as failing with the Russia, Russia, Russia. There's that church again. But this time got my, okay. Last time we were looking to the left, now we're looking to the right. That's why we're coming down this street again. Um, that's by design. So Russia didn't work. Impeachment didn't work. I mean, these people will do anything. They will crash the economy, absolutely crash the economy. Okay, I'm going to make this is the facade of that over 200-year-old. So now I'm heading down a little street called Moscow, Mosco, and there's a little close-up of that unbelievably old brickwork, if you call those bricks, like rocks. And heading straight ahead, see the Freedom Tower? See the Freedom Tower, people? You see that? Okay. There was so much glare I didn't even realize I was seeing it at the time when I was photographing. So anyway, this right straight ahead forward is the Columbus, what's it called? Columbus Park. And I kind of stop here with a still shot. This is the site of Gangs of New York, the book and the movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Daniel Day-Lewis and Cameron Diaz. And that park is seriously famous because it is what they call the 5 points, I believe, 5 points. And here we are, I believe, at the Mulberry Bend, or we're very close to the Mulberry Bend. Actually, we're heading up toward the Mulberry Bend. We are on Mulberry Street just momentarily here. We're not going to spend too much time on Mulberry Street because most of Mulberry Street is Little Italy, but down here it is still Chinatown, all boarded up, you know. Oh, God. So the Gangs of New York is kind of, you know, it was a series, a book. It was I believe it started with newspaper articles that were a bit on the sensational side, but somewhat based in fact. That at the spot of that park, which is now to our left that you don't see, was all dilapidated apartments. And it was at the time, early in the 19th century, very early, when the Irish were first coming to America. And the Protestant English who were already here in New York, they didn't like it. They didn't like it. So that's the whole theme, is sort of like West Side Story, you know, where the new ethnic group comes in and the people who are already here, they don't like it. And so that area was a place that nobody wanted to live because it was the site of a big kind of pond or a lake. And historically there was a brewery that was on the banks of this pond lake called the Collect, and it used the water from there. But after a while, people they filled it in. They filled in the pond, but not very well. And then it was basically like this open air sewer, the whole place. And buildings that were built on the landfill there were sinking, and it was just the worst place to live. It's where at that time the Irish and African Americans lived. No one wanted to live there, and it was crime-ridden, and there were prostitutes and you know, homeless children, and there are all these stories that were just horror. Okay, here we are at Canal Street, and over to the left, if you keep going up there, you enter Little Italy. Okay, we're gonna turn to the right, and then all of a sudden, I guess my camera wasn't working, so all of a sudden we're down at Doyer Street again. So we went all the way from Canal down to Doyers, and if you follow me on the map, so we've already been on this street before, but the camera was facing to the left. So unless that wasn't clear, and again, maybe I should have made this clearer earlier, the way I'm working this is that I'm going down each one of these streets, Elizabeth and Mott primarily, and at one point I face the camera to the left and then I turn it to the right, so that I found that with my videos, I was just whipping the camera left and right, and it was getting a little bit too, it was getting you seasick. So again, this is this little Doyers Street, and for a while I'm going to go against traffic. Wait, okay, so now I am for a moment on Pell Street. Okay, going west on Pell. You follow me? There's the vegetarian dim sum. I've been there. And on, what is it, New Year's Eve? We tried to go there. You couldn't even get in. I mean, all of these places, these are all 100% viable places. This is unnatural, to say the least, to see these businesses closed. And they have all been closed now for 2 or 3 months already. And I don't honestly I can't even imagine how any of these businesses can hang on. And there's going to be so much real estate, so much storefront space that's going to be empty with big signs. We've already seen, what I have noticed is there are many fewer signs that say store for rent here in Chinatown. And I just thought of that this second. I've been viewing a lot of this footage, trying to edit out some of the redundancies and things. And it just hit me that it seems as if a lot of these people are, they're survivors. What can I tell you? In other parts of the town, First Avenue in particular, I noticed that there were a lot of store for rent sign, and I don't see that many here. It seems like these places are closed, and somehow, it could very well be that these buildings are owned by Chinese people, and they're going to just help one another. I just thought of that this minute. Okay, now we're heading up Elizabeth Street, and the camera is facing to the right. But coming up in a little while, we're going to go past that precinct, the 5th precinct again. And this time, there's some policemen who are outside, so I kind of whip around to the left, so my apologies for that. But anyway, just more of the same, more of the same. You see, you get an idea. Here's, a lot of NYPD. All of my videos you have seen, just so many police everywhere. Police everywhere, right? New York's... Okay, here we go. There's the precinct. We just see 4 officers there. And then a couple officers here. I gotta say, that would be one hell of a job. I gotta say, if you're like an Anglo guy who works for the police department in Chinatown, that would be one crazy job. All right, here we are at Canal again, and we're going to continue back up. We're on Canal and Elizabeth, and we're still in Chinatown for another several blocks, and then we're heading up to Houston Street, and our camera is facing to the right. So in general, to the right. And sometimes when I see something kind of interesting, I will pan up. If there's a really tall building, or if there's this building that I find interesting. There's a lot of There are people who do walking tours in Chinatown, to say the least. Oh my God, Chinatown, Little Italy. I see them out there, and they have like a crowd around them, and they're saying, "Oh, in this building, so and so lived," and actually, one of the oldest buildings in New York is right on this street. I think it's on the other side of the street, and I did not point it out. But you can. I mean, there's a million books, all kind of stuff. This is a very historic area. I mean, it looks really cheesy. It's Chinese aesthetic sensibilities. I mean, that are a little bit something to be desired. So let me just say that in New York City, let me reiterate that there are many, many different quote unquote districts, or, parts of town. And people in the real estate business, they like to name certain areas. And then what they can do, I'm sure they do this in your part of town too, but they really do it here. And that is, they say, then they can advertise, spacious Upper East Side apartment, for example, or quaint Soho loft, so they can, when you hear these words, then you already know where, because they have defined it. Let me just, I wrote a little list of the various districts, and I know that I missed a few. But in New York, there is a lighting district, a diamond district, and everybody has heard of the theater district, of course, Wall Street, right? Soho, Little Italy, we're already talking about that. Chinatown, of course. The Courts area, there's a plant district. There's over on 7th Avenue, there's a bunch of outdoor businesses. Basically, they usually spill out onto the street and they sell plants. Of course, then there are certain parts of town, like the Upper East Side, Upper West Side, Midtown, Murray Hill, Union Square area, Chelsea. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. So let me just say that this is a real estate apocalypse, this shutdown. And if you were in the real estate business back, let's say, in January in New York City, this was your base, this was your territory. I mean, you're hurting right now, because the word on the street, the word in the media is that people are exiting New York, and I can vouch for that. I can vouch for that. It happened immediately. By the way, look to this building to the right here. It's back in yonder, these big glass buildings. You see, a lot of them have gone up in the past, let's say, 8 years. There was the big meltdown of 2007, 2008, and there was like a slowdown, and then but then people got religion again. People started having hope for New York City again, particularly because the Federal Reserve dumped a mountain of liquidity onto the economy, which was ill-advised in my opinion. So, of course, they did that again. We're right in the middle of this. I mean, I mean, I am making this video, but the whole scenario of this shutdown has yet to unfold. I mean, for me, the way I look at it is that it's nothing but catastrophe. I mean, now, I spoke actually with my landlord. By the way, I am a retailer that is considered essential. My husband and I have a beer store on 86th Street here in New York City, and since we sell beer, beverage, we are considered essential. And all these other people, people, dress shops, stationery stores, a lighting store, dress shop, anything like this, all considered non-essential, right? Now, other things are essential. I've talked about essential, non-essential in other videos, but oh, I forgot my train of thought there. So anyway, real estate people are, I mean, I don't know what they're thinking right now. But, oh, right. I was speaking with my landlord for the store. And I gave him a call and I said, well, we are not closing because we're considered essential. And I says, I just want to let you know that we will be paying a rent. A lot of people are not paying their rent, people. I mean, I think that's a news story right now. So if you are listening to this, in the near term, I don't have to tell you that. But, if somebody watches this video, and they might, 20 years from now, they might not know some of these things. So I pan up. Okay, we're heading toward Houston very soon here, and I just wanted to pan up at this amazing apartment building. So this is, and then this building next to it with the pointed roof. If you see a property, a building in New York City with a pointed roof, you know that it's got to go back to 1850, 1840, 1830, or earlier. So a lot of graffiti, a lot of interesting art in New York City, if you're not from New York City. I'm heading right here to the east side, and if I panned the camera a little bit more to the left, you would see a major Whole Foods. So Whole Foods, obviously, Whole Foods is essential. Okay, here we are. We're heading toward another district. This I didn't mention. This is the Restaurant Supply District. And it's been here forever. I mean, as far as I remember, I've been here 30 years. It's been the Restaurant Supply on the Bowery forever. And I mean, I'm just looking at this, and all I want to do is cry. I mean, I've been in these stores. They are mostly for restaurants, but you can go in there and buy, a big bowl, or I don't know, a cupcake pan or something. I mean, they have all kinds of things. And oh, look at this building here. See this fancy black building with the beautiful windows. See, there was promise on the Bowery to make the Bowery into one big fat bubble, and rents were skyrocketing for a while. I'm surprised actually that these restaurant supply places even stayed in business through all of that bubble time, which is now over. You see this property here? Oh, well, can't see it anymore, but it's, wait, right here, right here. You see that beautiful? See, properties and storefronts like that were coming into existence. And everybody says, oh, you can't, the Bowery, you can't touch the Bowery. I mean, now look at it. Now look at it. I mean, You know, I don't think the Bowery is coming back. I don't think we have a bubble on our hands, right? I don't think we have a real estate bubble on the Bowery anymore. Now, the Bowery, as people may know, is a notorious avenue. Well, historically, the Bowery means, I think it means farm. It means farm in Dutch. It's a kind of bastardization of the word brewery or something. Oh, yeah, oh, lovely, lovely. Here's this guy. He's not doing too good. He's not doing too good. I didn't want to spend too much time with him, but I mean, you see that all over the place. All over the place. Anyway, okay, now I'm going to pan up on this building. This is another interesting one. So this building is very interesting. It's an absolutely exquisite building. And the story is, the news story is, first of all, it's been like graffiti like that for 30 years. It has been abandoned and with graffiti all over it for all the 30 years that I remember it. And too bad I didn't get the other side of it, because all of that is full of graffiti too. But anyway, see, here's another property, you know, gentrified, trying to get in on that Bowery bubble. But that building back there, the news story is that the owner was sitting on that property until the perfect moment to sell it. And when all that Bowery bubble started, he sold it for millions, millions. And what's insane is that it's still full of graffiti. And it's not gonna, it's gonna stay full of graffiti, I would say, for another 5 or 10 years. I mean, New York City is going down the tubes. That's true. Okay, we are now at Kenmare and the Bowery. And our camera is facing to the west, to my right. You can kind of see my hand there. I'm on my bicycle. Okay. I was mentioning about that historically the Bowery was a farm, and Peter Stuyvesant, I think, look him up. I think he might have owned a lot of property on the Bowery. I mean, and then I guess back in the 60s or so, okay, I didn't look this up, but you can. The Bowery became a bastion for vagrants, and there were a lot of, you know, Christian mission places. It was Skid Row. Skid Row. And then it became, look at, you see these properties here? You see this kind of thing? This is the Bowery bubble. So you tell me, is the Bowery going to come back? Are those people going to get a return on their investment anytime soon? Or did they just lose a whole bunch of money? You know what I'm saying? So, okay, I pan over across Bowery over there, and there's some lighting stores. There's Lindy Lighting, one of my favorite places, but so many of them. Okay, a lot of the lighting places. See, okay, let me stop here. Capital, you see this? I'm going to pan up at this building. But I want to mention, okay, up we go. This is the other side of the Bowery Bank. And this is now a super high-end restaurant. Safe deposit vault, it said. So they kept these motifs. And you better have a lot of money when you walk into this restaurant. But what is it now? It's a place for, I mean, it's just turning into blight. We've got like homeless people hanging out. Look at this. Look at this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So where are we now? Are we at, um, let me see, what is it? It must be Grand or Hester. I think it's Grand and the Bowery. And I'm going to make a right-hand turn soon and go back over to Mott Street, I believe, as I recall. Anyway, here we go. Just more Chinatown, Chinatown, Chinatown. You know, looks like they are in the middle of repaving the Bowery, so it's really tough for me to ride my bike on that surface. So little by little, inching along, going down, I think, to Hester Street, and I think I'm gonna make a right-hand turn coming up. All right. Oh, the local color. Gated, closed up, shut down. Okay, I think that I'm not going to go down, Hester. I'm going to wrap this up. This video is way too long now. So please rate, comment, share, subscribe, and particularly share with those white liberal, Bernie bro, Brooklyn hipster, millennials all cooped up in their apartments, who haven't got a clue about what's happening outside the walls of their home. And I'm here to bring it to you, and please share with them in particular, because they are clueless, and they need to chime in with all of us to end this ridiculous shutdown, so these business people and these neighborhoods can get back on their feet. Thanks for watching again. Rate, comment, share, and subscribe.